The bases dropped on Monday, November 19th. It's a holiday week, but it's also match week for Atlanta United. Conference finals start on Sunday for Atlanta, for the New York Red Bulls, for the Portland Timbers, for Sporting Kansas City. Jason Longshore, John Nelson, Jarrett Smith with you this morning on Soccer Down Here. We'll be getting into your overreactions on a Monday because that's what we do. We'll also be talking about some news and notes out of Dallas. They could be in need of a new coach, which we did not expect to be the case. We'll get into that. We'll talk some U.S. men's national team stuff because they still don't have a coach, and the guy in Dallas would have been a nice candidate, but, there's that. All kinds of other stuff. We have flamingos in Madison, Wisconsin that have to be explained, and we'll get into that as well. Yeah, I had the same reaction as you guys did. But let's start with the latest article at the Players Tribune. I hope everybody has seen this. It has started to make the rounds this morning. Josef Martinez sat down with the folks over at the Players Tribune and told his story. And it's a pretty amazing article. And I'm not trying to oversell it here. It's really, really interesting. Talks about the bond between Josef and Miguel Almiron and that side of it, but he also tells the story about why Atlanta is important to him. And I've already seen the cynical parts of the Atlanta United fan base say that this is a goodbye letter. I honestly didn't get that sense at all. I didn't get that sense at all from his description here. I honestly took it the other way, and it kind of reinforced where my head's been. It would have to take a very special kind of offer for Josef to consider leaving. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is he talks about how, Tata Martino was a big reason why he came, and they had been talking, and when Tata started talking about how serious this was becoming and how important Tata was taking it, how much potential it seemed to have, that really attracted Josef's attention because he was having a bad time at that point in Torino, in Italy. It also talks about Miguel Almiron, how important he is to Josef Martinez. Well, both of those guys will be here next year. So we'll see what happens with Josef. But I don't think this was him angling to look for a way out, though. I honestly didn't take it that way. John, I don't know if you've had a chance to read it yet, but what was your reaction?
Have not.
Okay. Jarrett, what was your reaction if you've had a chance to read it? And
I'm about 75% of the way through it.
Okay. So Jarrett will be able to finish up in a second. What do you think as you're starting into it?
I mean, look, Josef's an odd duck in the sense that Josef has kept kayfabe better than most wrestlers since the year 1985 have been able to keep kayfabe in terms of the way you see him as a fan. Just the angry stare. You saw it in the great video they did last week about he and Miguel being in best 11, and at the end he just does the stare and walks off. He keeps kayfabe very well. He's a pretty normal human being aside from that. And I think a lot of times he doesn't let that show through. He's very, very private about his life. He's, as we've seen in articles written in the past, especially that Felipe's done, where he's been able to kind of chip away at the kayfabe a little bit and see that there is a person under there and not just a T-1000 Terminator. It's really always interesting to see it from the perspective of players who, especially a player like Josef who had success. I mean, look, when he was in Switzerland, he was lighting it up like a Christmas tree at times. Goes to Italy, things don't go well, and then, kind of comes back across the Atlantic and, kind of beaten up, I think. And, forming a bond here with a manager like Tata Martino, who, in talking with Tata all year, he takes a lot of pride, I think, in his ability to work with Josef and, to manage with Josef, because Josef's a unique personality and it takes the right approach to deal with a guy like that. I think can get the best out of him, and he does that. But to read about his interactions with him and to read about it with Miguel and how just blunt he is about Miguel being the best player in this league, I think that when they hand out the MVP trophy, and I still think it's going to be Josef that lifts that trophy because of the 30-goal season. The first words out of his mouth, I would put money on it that it's probably going to be about Miguel deserving that trophy.
Yeah, I would agree. I also agree. I think Joseph wins it this year because of the record, the story, the whole thing. I think he almost has to. But yeah, is Miguel the best player in the league? I think so. Most complete, I think there's no question. It's going to be an interesting offseason because of how Atlanta United will change a little bit. Tata Martino won't be here. He won't be that focal point. Miguel Almiron likely won't. We'll have to wait and see what the offers turn out to be, but you would expect it. You're going to see some new faces come in. The personality of the team, I think, will tweak a bit as new faces come in to help shape it. That's typical, especially that's typical for a big club. You see it when big transfers happen. You see it when big faces come and go. But the thing about Atlanta United that I think people need to keep in mind is that new faces will come. New faces will go, or big names will go. Big personalities will go at different points. But new ones will come in to replace them. And this club will always be evolving in that sense. One of the things that jumped out to me about the article from Joseph was about Arthur Blank. And, you don't see that, I think, a lot when players talk about an owner. And I mean, he says that, Arthur cared about him and wanted to know about where he was from and what he wanted to be as a player, as a person. He really treats you like you were his son and talks about how Atlanta and Atlanta United to him is family. I don't know of many places in MLS or honestly many clubs in the world that have that type of feel. And I think that's part of the specialness of Atlanta. And, John, it's something that I think Arthur has brought to both the Falcons and Atlanta United. His personality and, whether it's a father figure, whether it's Uncle Arthur, he's made it personal, I think, for people who are involved and play for the club and play for him. They don't look at him as just a boss.
And I think that added dimension to the point that you were making when you started, it's not something that you see these days. You sure don't see it from a Jerry Jones. You sure never saw it maybe from an Al Davis, maybe in some warped way you did. But think about all of the big franchises, regardless of sport. All George Steinbrenner ever wanted to do was yell at you and fire you. And he would probably end up doing both several times over, especially if you were Billy Martin. The Red Sox these days seem like a family, but the owner, in a John Henry, you don't see that integration. You see him sitting in row 3 and enjoying it, but I don't see the familial kind of addressing of everything. In the NBA with the Lakers, there seemed to be more infighting among the Buss family members than there is in trying to build something. Magic, you see trying to bring that back and bringing LeBron in. Honestly, think of every major sport across the board. How many different owners of teams have this approach when it comes to running a franchise? You run it, yes, you run it as a business, but you're seeing Arthur Blank giving back into the community regularly in ways a lot of other owners don't. And then you see the familial aspect of it all. He takes care of his own. Arthur Blank has shown in the players that he views as a part of the family who have given their blood, sweat, tears, toil, and trouble, like a Matt Ryan, like a Julio Jones. You see that with what he's doing. And I think that soccer is now being exposed across the board to what Arthur Blank is doing when it comes to the level of care that he has and the level of care that he brings for everyone who touches Atlanta United. And I think that it's something that's missed a lot these days. I think it's something that I wish we could gravitate more toward these days. But to be seeing it front and center and to see Joseph articulate it, I think it's a really cool thing that a lot of folks maybe see, but they don't get to touch. And I think that Joseph in this piece, what Atlanta means, bottom line, that's your title. And I think you get to see it here.
I think the thing about Arthur is that there's no kayfabe about it. If we're going to
No.
keep playing that out, he is who he is. Al Davis, I think, probably treated people very good behind the scenes, and you hear different people who worked for him for a long time talk about how they revered Al Davis. But his public persona was the opposite of that. And I think he put up that wall and all that. And I think a lot of owners do that. I think there are owners who treat people very well and treat their athletes and treat their staff very well in sports. I think Arthur is one of the most open about that. And it is that culture of family that runs through the teams. I mean, the whole, brotherhood thing with the Falcons, it's not an accident. That's legit. Like that's how they think of it. And that's Arthur Blank and Dan Quinn and the Falcons front office believing in that. And you can talk about results all you want, but that mentality of family is a big part of that side of the business. It's the same on the soccer side. And I mean, you see it, and it comes out very clearly if you're watching, if you're paying attention. And when you read things like this from Joseph, and you see quotes from different players, it is a family feel, and that's special. I think it is something that's a bit lost when it comes to professional sports these days, and I think it's something that will make players want to stick around. Doesn't mean they always will. Doesn't mean there aren't better offers and better opportunities. That's the world of soccer. There are opportunities everywhere at all times, and sometimes they're the right opportunity for that player at that time in their career. And it's probably going to happen for Miguel. It could happen for Joseph. It could happen for a number of players in this team. But the next players that come in, the next manager that comes in, will be part of that Atlanta United family going forward. And I think that's something that is unique that Atlanta has. And it's something that will be very, very important this week, because there will be lots of talk and lots of comment made about Atlanta United with Tata Martino, who is not coming back next year, with Miguel Almiron, who we know the rumors, we know the talk swirling around. The talk about Monterrey coming up last week, where it looked like a reporter was on TV in Mexico basically begging Monterrey to go after Joseph Martinez, more than reporting there was an actual possibility of that happening. This is going to be the story this week going into a series with the New York Red Bulls. That's going to be the story. This is the referendum for Atlanta United, and they have to get it right because of X, Y, and Z. No, this is Atlanta United in 2018 trying to win the Eastern Conference to lift a trophy. If they do, great. If they don't, they're not going to go away, folks. It's not going to judge this era of Atlanta United as a failure, and that's something that I said a while ago when the Tata Martino news broke. I was on with Jason Davis on SiriusXM FC, and he asked, will it be considered a failure if they don't lift a trophy this year? I said in the short term, some people might look at it that way. In the long term, absolutely not. You can't judge it that way, because Atlanta United is doing things in its first 2 years that nobody's done. And don't throw Chicago Fire winning trophies in 1998 at me in a 12-team league. This is a team that has had more points than anybody else in the last 2 years, more goals. It's brought change to this league like nobody has. In time, Tata Martino is going to be revered as a legend in Atlanta soccer. Miguel Almiron, same thing. Even if it's a 2-year career here, that's going to be the case. So don't let that stuff distract you going into this week. This is a chance for the 2018 Atlanta United to reach the goals that it set back in January as it came together for preseason. This was a team that wanted to win a trophy. They have one trophy left on the table. They are 3 games away from doing that. They have to face the best team in league history to get there. All the pressure in my book is on that team that had the best record. They've been here at this point, best record in the league, 3 times out of the last 6 years. They haven't been to MLS Cup yet. Last time they did that was 2008. The pressure is on the New York Red Bulls to do this as the number 1 seed. For me, Atlanta United can come in and play freely and play their game in the home leg, see what you get, go to Red Bull Arena, hopefully with a lead, and then watch that pressure mount. For me, this is much more of a referendum on the Red Bulls and their style and their brand and how they have built their team than it is on Tata Martino's success, Miguel Almiron's success, Joseph Martinez's success. Those things have already been written. It's going to be an interesting week. Sunday, first leg at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Tickets are going very, very, very fast. If you want to get tickets and you don't have them, you better get them soon. Could be a playoff record, should be a playoff record, should be a massive wild crowd at the Benz on Sunday. We'll get you ready for it all week long here on Soccer Down Here. But first, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. More overreactions from you guys on the Twitters at Soccer Down Here. Stay with us. We will be right back.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here, November 19th edition. It's an Overreaction Monday. Some overreactions to the Joseph Martinez Players Tribune piece. We'll get into that. Maybe some underreactions, maybe some on-par reactions. If you haven't had a chance, check that out, por favor. It is excellent. Let's talk about something there are some overreactions and maybe some on-par reactions out there about, but I might have had an overreaction when I heard the news on Saturday and read Ivis Galarcep's breaking story about Oscar Pareja, FC Dallas manager, headed to Club Tijuana and likely taking his staff with him, or most of them. Unexpected. Pareja was mentioned at one point as a U.S. men's national team candidate. Then it came out that no one had spoken to him, which makes total sense because he's built one of the best academies in soccer in the United States, and he's had very good success as a manager in MLS. Sure, don't talk to him. He's also bilingual. Maybe they didn't actually think to check on that. I don't know, but yeah, Oscar Pareja doesn't get an interview, and he will be headed to Tijuana, it appears. Reports out of Dallas are that it is all but done and will be announced here shortly. The Third Degree website listed 5 realistic candidates based off the club's previous hiring practices. And, I mean, let's go back through recent hires with FC Dallas. Pareja replaced Shellis Heinemann. Shellis Heinemann had been famous as the men's soccer coach at Southern Methodist University, SMU, where one of the owners, one of the Hunt children, played for him. So, okay, makes total sense. Steve Morrow replaced Colin Clark. Before that, Morrow had been one of his assistants. They generally like people that they have a relationship with. They generally like to promote people from within the program. This is a little different because Pareja, a lot of his staff will go, but not all of them. Not all of his staff came in with him. The guy that Third Degree mentions that could be the ideal candidate based off past hires is Marco Ferruzzi. He's been with the club for 15 years. He's been an assistant under Pareja, under, I believe, Morrow, under Heinemann. He's been there for a long time. Would make a lot of sense. Luchi Gonzalez is another. He's the current academy director. He's had great success with the academy, but he doesn't have any professional experience as a coach. The more of a reach type of candidates that Third Degree mentions are pretty interesting to me. Caleb Porter is the one who I think will be mentioned with every job because he's had success. He's got an MLS Cup to his name. No connections between him and Dallas, though, that I know of. Jason Kreis is another one, and Jarrett and I talked about Kreis this weekend. Former Dallas Burn, FC Dallas star, went to Real Salt Lake, then retired, became a manager. We know what he did there. We know what he's done at his last 2 stops, too. Kreis might want to wait, might want to take a little bit of time off after the flame out in Orlando. If Dallas comes calling, I don't know if he can afford to. I think he has to take that job if it comes up. The one that was really interesting on this list to me, though, is Leonel Alvarez, former Dallas Burn star in the early days of the league. He is currently managing at Cerro Porteño in Paraguay. He's won titles with clubs in Colombia, most recently, I believe, at Independiente Medellin. He kind of checks off a lot of the boxes. So he knows the city, even though it's been a while. He knows MLS, even though, it's been a while. But he's at Cerro Porteño, which has seen guys move to MLS lately. That's where Miguel Almiron started, remember. It would be very intriguing to see Alvarez get this opportunity. I think, based off the history, that it's probably Ferruzzi or Kreis. Those would be the two that make the most sense. But, Jarrett, if you're back with us, we talked about Kreis and the back and forth about him. I think he's a really interesting candidate at this point because the last 2 stops for him, NYC and Orlando, have been massive failures. NYC, I think he has a bit of an excuse and out. Orlando, there's some pretty big questions about what happened there. Dallas would be a really nice landing spot for Jason Kreis at this point in his career.
I mean, it certainly feels like it. There's always going to be questions about the Orlando thing. I'll be fascinated to know if we ever get the full story about what happened in Orlando. Because I'm not sure we ever will about everything that went on down there because it's just a hot mess. I think we'll always get snippets, and I think we'll always kind of get a skewed version of events of what went on. But, I think Dallas will do their research. They'll know what happened. They'll figure it out. And I think they'll decide if this is worth a chance or not. But, the reason Orlando hiring Kreis in the first place carried a lot of optimism. There was a reason for that. People were excited about what happened in New York and the potential of what could have been. And I can't say I blame them. I was excited for Orlando's sake. I mean, Kreis was a guy we had talked about before Tata Martino came into Atlanta about if you're looking for a guy, within the league with experience, he was a name to look at. I'm going to be curious if they look at any assistants around the league. It's just Dallas is going to be an interesting job to take. I think you described it during the week, Jason, as you got to punch above your weight. You're not necessarily going to have the biggest budget to work with, and you're going to have to get the most out of some guys. You'll have weapons, but you're going to have to extract maximum value from some guys to consistently get the job done, and also understand going in that because it is Dallas and the connection to the Hunt family, you ain't punting the Open Cup. You can go ahead and put that out of your head right now.
Yeah, you have to compete for Open Cup. It's one of your kind of the heritage trophies for the Dallas club and the Hunt family. Dallas won't be a club under the Hunt family that ever spends huge money on transfers and bringing guys in like that. You don't have to in Major League Soccer. Of course, it gives you a better chance of winning. Well, let's not lie about it. Let's not try to throw shade on that one. It does. If you have money and you can spend it on players, you're going to have a better chance of winning. That's what Soccernomics and every deep dive, theoretical, philosophical, all of these types of things you want to get into, it comes down to this. If you have money to spend, you're going to have more chances, period. Dallas doesn't have as many chances, but Dallas won a Supporters' Shield in 2016. They lost Mauro Diaz going into the playoffs, and that changed that team's possibility of doing a treble. They won the Open Cup. They won the Supporters' Shield that year. It's all kind of fallen apart since then. I'm not really all that shocked that when an offer comes up that Pareja might consider leaving, because it's kind of felt like he's hit a brick wall in Dallas, John.
Yeah.
But, the route for him, I hate to see him leaving U.S. Soccer, because he was a guy that I think embraced what Major League Soccer clubs could do with an academy before anybody else. He's a guy that we've talked about in the past as a potential national team candidate. For whatever reason, he has not been considered at this time, which is shocking. I almost wonder if he's going to Tijuana to bolster, because Tijuana and Dallas aren't really that dissimilar, to be honest, for their placement in their leagues. Tijuana's not cash flush either. I almost wonder if he's trying to bolster his credibility to potentially go to South America, or even look at an opportunity to take the Colombian national team down the road if he can put himself into that kind of level and that type of conversation.
Yeah, and that was, as the two of you were having that conversation over the weekend, that was what was processing through my mind as well. Sometimes you have to go someplace else if you feel like you've hit that proverbial brick wall. You've got to kind of go a different direction to get to where you want to go, regardless of what you think those next steps are. So I think that this was, if you just get to the point to where you've sat there and you've gone, okay, I think I've done all I can do, and you can't go any further from that point, then sometimes you do have to take that step. You have to step away and then figure out, okay, maybe this will be a path if I can prove myself here. Then through some kind of transitive coaching property, you can sit there and then get to where you think you need to go for those next steps. So I think that the two of you in that assessment are right on, that he's heading someplace else to try to get to where he thought he could go with Dallas, but hit the brick wall first.
Well, I think maybe a little bit twofold of where he thought he could go, because I would love to see somebody ask him about how interested he would have been in the U.S. men's national team.
Yes.
There was a little bit of a conversation earlier this season, and it kind of seemed like I don't know, people said that he had talked to people, and then it came out that he didn't. I thought he was kind of like Tata Martino in that he said he'd like to have that conversation, but it seems like nobody wanted to have that. And there were reports over the weekend that Greg Berhalter being hired is not exactly like imminent. Roger Gonzalez at CBS Sports said that it's, I don't know where it stands. I mean, I think we've all just kind of assumed that it's done. Roger Gonzalez said that, it's, I'm trying to remember how he put it without looking at the article, mentioned that Berhalter has not really been told he's the main guy or the main choice yet, which is shocking if that's the case. Charlie Boehm followed up and said that, yeah, while this might not be wrong, it still seems like Berhalter is the main guy. This just weird situation from U.S. Soccer at this point, with that coming out, on top of nobody talking to Tata Martino, nobody talking to Peter Vermes, nobody talking to Oscar Pareja, nobody talking to Jesse Marsh, Greg Vanney, you name it, they didn't get talked to. If you're not making it clear to Berhalter that he is the choice, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? I mean, to the point that somebody asked on Twitter if U.S. Soccer is cash-strapped, and they're not by any way that I know of. I mean, the talk not that long ago was about a surplus and about a lot of money in the coffers. I don't know what the holdup is.
I don't either. And it's flustering, if that's a word. You just you scratch your head, you sit there and you go, it's WTF at this point. And it's like, all right, it's taken this long. You've done nothing. You thought this was the guy. And now what's the deal? And you haven't pulled a trigger and everybody's thinking you're pulling the trigger on this guy. You want to bang your head against the wall about this.
Yeah, it's really, really surprising to me that we're still at this point and we don't know what's going on with the men's national team side of things. And now you see another manager from Major League Soccer that is leaving without having that conversation with U.S. Soccer. Another guy who's brought a lot to this league in Oscar Pareja, first as a player, then on the academy side, then as a manager in two different spots. It's kind of crazy that Oscar Pareja is going to leave Major League Soccer without U.S. Soccer having that conversation. I'm almost starting to wonder if some managers feel like, you know what, why am I wasting my time here? And the managers who are going to have that feeling are going to be managers from other countries who come to Major League Soccer and want to do more in American soccer and aren't going to get that opportunity. I don't get it. I think there's a big disconnect right now with the U.S. Soccer Federation and what American soccer actually is. I don't think they really know. I think if you sit in Chicago or you sit at the headquarters and you think of what American soccer is and you write that down, you're not going to understand the immigrant community. You're not going to understand the gigantic Latin community of soccer in the United States. You're not going to understand the refugee community that we see firsthand here in Atlanta. You're not going to understand that soccer is not just suburban minivans, orange slices. It is that, but it is so much more. And I really feel like there are people being left on the outside. Their opinions and their expertise is not being valued. And they're saying, well, it's time to go. I'm not going to waste my time here anymore. It's a shame. And it's something that U.S. Soccer, I think, really needs to figure out. Because I don't know at this point what the holdup is on Berhalter. If he's your guy, and he was your guy. I mean, Ernie Stewart's been in the job since August 1. He agreed to take it before that. No clue what is the holdup at this point, but you've got Christian Pulisic coming out after a match being incredibly frustrated. You've got experts from around the world looking at this team and saying it's a bunch of individuals. There's no tactics. There's no nothing right now. And you can't blame Dave Sarachan for that because he hasn't been interviewed to even be told, like, you know what, we value your opinion and what you've done here. We'd like to at least give you an interview and try to convince us why you should be the guy. He hasn't had that opportunity. You can't blame him for not managing this team at this point. I mean, he's doing the best he can with going game to game at this point. I don't know. It feels like it's been a lost year, and it just feels like there is such a huge disconnect between what American soccer is and what some people who are running it think it is. And it's a shame to watch Tata Martino express his interest, not get a call. It's a shame to watch Oscar Pareja put in the work that he has and decide to leave. And not leave to go to the Colombian national team right now or to go to a major club with big history. I mean, he's going to Club Tijuana. He's going to Xolos, a club that was having problems paying its players not that long ago. That is not a good look. And that's not an MLS thing. I really don't think it is. That is... I feel like Oscar Pareja, even if you say, okay, I got to have somebody who speaks English, and Tata Martino doesn't work for me because his English is not good enough. Okay. If that's what you think, I will disagree with you, but okay. There's no excuse on Oscar Pareja. Zero. Zero excuse on why you're not having a conversation with Oscar Pareja. So, with all that said, we're going to take a break. We're going to get into your overreactions on the other side. I might get some orange slices because I like orange slices. But there's more to the game than orange slices. And I'm excited to see that finally happen at some point. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinsky at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinsky is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star, and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here. November 19th edition. It's an overreaction Monday. Maybe a little bit of an overreaction about Oscar Pareja and leaving FC Dallas, which news could come out any day now. Dallas sources are saying that they're hearing the same things that Ives Galarcep reported this weekend about Pareja leaving to go to Club Tijuana, Xolos. Look, here's the thing about Pareja leaving Dallas. It's a little bit of a surprise because of the way Dallas operates, and we talked about Arthur Blank and creating a family atmosphere here. I think the Hunts do that as well in Dallas. I think they absolutely have. It's a different scale of a club. It's a different type of a club. They're trying to develop more internally, but they have that family atmosphere. And Oscar Pareja's been there for 5 years, and he was there before that as a player and before that as an academy director. So he's been there for a long time. For a manager who has ambition, and I would definitely say that Oscar Pareja has ambition, 5 years in one spot where you kind of know what it's going to be, and you know that, okay, maybe you've went as far as you can with the current group you have, and you'd have to rebuild a little bit. Do you want to be there another 2-3? Maybe not. That's why, for me, U.S. Soccer not having the conversation is surprising, and the fact that you're letting him leave, because if he goes to Tijuana, I don't see him coming back to the United States. Could be wrong. Could absolutely be wrong. But I think then his route is to try to get to Colombia, to try to get to a major club, maybe get to Europe. I mean, I think Pareja's put in the work and shown that he is a quality manager. And if he goes to Mexico and has success with a club like Tijuana, then I think he puts himself in that conversation. But the fact that he's leaving Dallas is not the giant surprise to me. It's a little surprising, but 5 years, totally get it. Maxi Urruti probably needs to go. You're going to have to incorporate Aranguiz as your 10. You just brought in Baji, different type of player. So, you're in a little bit of a rebuild. It might be a short one, but you're in a bit of a rebuild if you're Dallas. Pareja might say, you know what, I've done my time. I'm ready to go. Okay, that's completely fine. He has an opportunity to go. U.S. Soccer should have had a conversation with him because he is about as perfect of a candidate as you could possibly find. And if you just want to compare him straight up to Greg Berhalter, you might decide Pareja has the better results, is the better candidate. You could easily come to that because of what he's done with developing young players, his work on the academy side. He has a supporter shield to his name, which is a very prestigious honor. He has an Open Cup to his name. He has more professional experience. He's bilingual. He understands the Latin game in this country. He has brought in talent from all over the country to play for the FC Dallas Academy, and he has helped players go from young academy players to professionals. It's a pretty good resume. And the fact that U.S. Soccer hasn't talked to Pareja is maybe the most baffling of the people they haven't talked to, because he seems to check every single possible box you could have. So the fact that he's leaving Dallas is not really the shock here. The fact that you could be watching him leave the American soccer, the U.S. soccer ecosystem, and not have a conversation from U.S. Soccer it's sad. It's very sad. Thoughts, John?
The word that came to my mind was unfathomable. And when you were wrapping up your thought on Pareja, the fact that you got into him leaving the ecosystem was what I was going to process. Think about the knowledge base. Think about the connections. Think about every piece of DNA that Oscar Pareja has laid down in the United States soccer landscape in his time at FC Dallas. Think about all the tentacles that have gone out. Think about all of the reach and all of the connections and all the knowledge and the knowledge base that is probably now out the door. And to your point, he's probably not coming back. To lose that, that's a three-dimensional loss. That's not just losing a coach. That's not losing a manager. That's a three-dimensional loss. And obviously, me banging my head on my desk in my office doesn't translate well to radio, but the word that kept popping into my head was that this is an unfathomable event in a process that has taken too long and not involved too many people who can turn the page and get everything going forward in a direction that those who are fans of U.S. soccer want it to be.
I hope Jarrett's back with us. He's pulling double duty right now over at the radio station as well. But there he is. Look, you've had pretty serious thoughts about Oscar Pareja and being a potential men's national team manager down the road, and it looks like that road just took a hard left and is not going to happen.
I'm
how
kind of
frustrating is that for you?
Yeah. I'll let you be pissed.
Yeah, I mean, I am, because this is something I know I've wanted. Going back to when we started this show, before Atlanta United was a thing on the field, before there was a tangible product, the year, we thought Dallas might be the first team to win the treble. They win the Supporters Shield. They win the U.S. Open Cup. And, we're a year away from the Hex at that point, or we're in the Hex at that point, excuse me. We're starting it. And thinking, this is a guy I want to see interviewed for this job. This is a guy I want to see interviewed for this job. He's not going to get interviewed for this job. No, he's not. He's going to go to Mexico possibly. And the long game of taking Colombia and just drilling it, the United States in a Gold Cup, is just a little too much for me to deal with.
Yeah.
In the same way that, if Tata takes the Mexico job and just annihilates the United States with the Mexico, it's going to be the same thing. Or, disappointing we lost. Yeah, it's a lot worse when you're getting, catching a hammer shower from somebody who you had a chance to go get. And especially, it's not, and it's going to be one thing if you lose because, that team is in the middle of a golden generation. They had better players than you that day. That sucks, but sometimes it happens. God forbid you get outflanked by either one of them.
Just imagine the next Copa America the one in 2020, if that happens, where you have CONCACAF teams and CONMEBOL teams, and that's the plan going forward, is you would see a tournament like that. Just imagine you have a group of the U.S., Mexico, Colombia, and somebody else.
Mm-hmm. And you get tactically
you
outflanked
get
in 2 of those games?
Worked by the 2 guys that you decided not to have a conversation with. I know the U.S. and Mexico are never going to be in the same group in Copa America. I know. I'm just saying for effect. I think you get where I'm going with this.
Oh, it's even worse if it's an elimination game. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you get one in the group stage and get worked, and then you make it out, and then you get to the elimination game and just get worked again. I don't know. The thought, and I remember lots of people saying it after the U.S. was eliminated from World Cup qualifying, was, well, this is a good thing. And my head would spin, and I'd pick my jaw up off the floor, and I would, turn my ears back on, and they would say, it's a good thing because now U.S. soccer is forced to deal with things and make drastic changes they wouldn't have otherwise. Yeah, I ain't seen any drastic changes, y'all.
You can lead the horse to water. You sure as hell can't make him drink.
The most drastic change is for the president of U.S. Soccer to step down and the person who was the vice president to win the election to become the new president, which I don't think was necessarily the bad decision, but that's not drastic change. You're looking at hiring a manager from MLS who has, 5-6 years of professional experience, who played for the national team in the past, who has been hailed by lots of managers in this league as one of the top tacticians in the league. It's good. Not drastic change. Your last guy came in out of MLS. Bob Bradley had MLS experience. We can keep going. There has not been that drastic change that people said this is what's going to be a good thing about not qualifying for a World Cup. Not seeing it. Don't know if we're going to see it. And that's just where it's at. So Oscar Pareja appears to be heading to Liga MX and Tijuana, not getting any conversation with U.S. Soccer, which you want my true reaction here about it. I think it's even more of a just ridiculous statement on where U.S. Soccer is that Oscar Pareja didn't get an interview more than Tata Martino. Because of the amount of work and time that Pareja has put into American soccer, for him to not get an interview it says a lot about the process, and it says a lot about the way that this is going to go going forward. So we will see, but Pareja will be leaving Dallas. The question for us, as we look at it from MLS perspective, is what do they do next? And I don't think they go to Leonel Alvarez. I don't think they go to Caleb Porter. I think Marco Ferruzzi and Jason Kreis are your top 2 candidates for Dallas. Kreis because of his history in Dallas. He's won an MLS Cup. He has had success. Dallas and RSL are fairly similar types of clubs. Very different than NYCFC, where Kreis did not have success. I think different than Orlando, where he didn't have success. Dallas, I think he's going to have time to build, and he's going to get time to rebuild maybe his own confidence and his own career. Ferruzzi has been there 15 years. If he's going to get a head coaching gig, this is his time. So I think it's down to those 2 guys, and Dallas continues forward in the same general vein they've been in. But we'll see what happens to U.S. Soccer if they finally make a coaching hire one day. We'll see. We're going to take a break, come back, finish up hour number 1. We'll get into your overreactions here as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski and Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here. It's an Overreaction Monday. We've been reacting about things. You can judge if it's over, under, on par. We'll let you guys make that decision on Twitter. But we have some over and under and on par reactions from the listeners as well. John, what do we have on the Twitters?
Joe Bost. Hashtag Overreaction Monday. The Falcons may not win again this century. I'm having Atlanta United withdrawals.
That's a little bit of an overreaction, but
as someone who has to sit there and watch this team every week, can we just leave them in the rearview mirror for 2 hours of my life? This is my safe place from that.
Yeah, just,
and a team that's actually a step away from a championship. So
yes,
or competing for one.
Definitely that. Oh, they're competing for one, and they're 3 games away from lifting a trophy. Yeah, but just remember, you've had the spine of that team hurt on defense all season, so it's frustrating, but I think it's been more unlucky than anything else. Yesterday was not good. There were Cowboys fans everywhere.
No.
Everywhere.
No, it was not good.
Everywhere Dallas fans, all over the city.
Correct. On the MARTA. They were there. Sherbs, for his Overreaction Monday, first part. You're a wizard, Miguelito. We need to get Joseph's grandfather, the Hot Take Machine, a Twitter account.
That was one of the funniest things about the Players Tribune article was Joseph talking about his grandfather like watching games when he was a kid and narrating them and yelling at the players and yelling at everything and now he still does it. He tells Miguel Almiron he runs like an ostrich, which I thought was awesome and actually very, very accurate. I wouldn't have thought of that, but yes, he does.
Yeah.
Joseph's granddad on Twitter might be a little frightening, though. Let's not see that one happen.
Then Nathan Pugh. I covet the way rugby handles TMO for how footy should use VAR. Refs with video cams, mic'd up, transparent discussion about why the second look and the conclusion between the ref and review official. Hashtag on par reaction Monday.
And I don't know how that process works, so I can't really speak to it. The biggest thing, outside of getting to a central location that we've talked about, and that's more mechanics of it, I think the referees and IFAB, who handles the laws of the game and all these types of things, they need to get some clarification about language and how the process is going to work in terms of what is reviewable, what's not reviewable, how it's overturned, what you need to see to be overturned, what you need to see to make a call that wasn't made on the field, these types of things. It really reminds me of the way that American football introduced it. And you started to see this different language at different points, and clear evidence became a thing for a while. There's been different phrases that have bandied around in the replay world in American football. It kind of feels like that with soccer right now to me. In that right now, clear and obvious error was the initial language we're going to go with, and it's just not clear enough. It's not defined well enough, and you get all kinds of confusion. So the leagues, I think it's bigger than the leagues. I think this is truly a FIFA IFAB type of deal where you need more guidance from the top, and then the leagues need to disseminate it and use it in the way that works for them. I think all of them, if they have the means to, need to be in a central location, but more of the just what the video assistant referee is looking for, what they're trying to show the referee when they show them replays, what it takes for something to be called by the VAR as opposed to the referee on the field. Those types of things just need to be cleaned up. It's too ambiguous right now.
And then Sherbs to wrap up hour number 1. Overreaction Monday using the hashtag. I hope there's still time for an Atlanta means family TIFO.
That's going to be tough because it's Sunday, and these things take a little bit of time. It does not mean you can't make a smaller sign or whatever. I think I'm not sure what the limits are on signs you can make. I believe I've seen poster boards in the stadium that people have made on their own. Definitely ways to do that. Definitely hashtags. Definitely things like that. So yeah, don't be shocked if you don't see that on a TIFO. It's a little hard to turn around that fast. The TIFO folks have been working probably since the last game on the TIFO for this one because it takes that long to make these things.
I would agree. And let's see. Jeremy York, quickly. Hashtag on par reaction Monday. Overall, really solid weekend with only thing missing being a nice United win over a New York team. Guess there's always next weekend. Also, it was nice meeting you, John, and Jason at the last United game. Hashtag making an impact.
Yes, as we are scurrying into the stadium, it's like, hey,
yes,
hey,
Jeremy,
yo, yeah, it's craziness sometimes getting into the stadium and all the craziness, and that was an extra crazy one with all kinds of stuff going on pregame. We'll see what this week looks like ahead of the game. It's crazy because it's a holiday week, so it feels a little different. We won't have a show on Thursday, obviously. Friday, we'll figure out how we're going to do this because it is right before the biggest game in club history. Right now, every next game is the biggest game in club history, but Sunday is the biggest game in club history. So it's kind of a weird week because of the holiday. Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing. It's the biggest game until it's done. Then the next Thursday will be the biggest game. And if they get through, then MLS Cup will be the biggest game. That's where we're at right now. So we will figure out our programming schedule because that's one complication this week, and it has a different feel right now because of that. I don't think it's going to affect the momentum. I don't think it's going to affect anything like that. I think Sunday will be an epic day for Atlanta soccer. It'll be an epic day for Major League Soccer. And I think it'll show, again, to a national audience what this league can truly be. And all of us here in Atlanta are hoping that it is the start of a successful conference final series. And I think Atlanta has to set the tone in Game 1 at home. I don't think the series is over if they don't get a win in Game 1, not by any stretch. But that road just dramatically goes uphill if you don't. And it's going to be tough going to Red Bull Arena and needing a big win to get through. We'll get into more of Atlanta and Red Bulls as we get closer. We'll get into more of your overreactions in hour number 2. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Appolinsky & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Appolinsky at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Appolinsky is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Soccer Down Here on an Overreaction Monday, November 19th. Jason Longshore, John Nelson, Jarrett Smith with you this morning. John, what else do we have on the Twitters in the Overreaction Monday realm?
Joe Bost has been very busy this morning. Morning, Joe.
If
you look at both the Falcons and the Atlanta United hierarchy, Arthur Blank, Darren Eales, and Dan Quinn are all super guys. They are approachable, and especially with Darren and Dan, they're guys you just want to go drink a beer with. Darren Eales going to Fido.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think those hires happen by accident. I really don't. There is a type of personality that fits. Darren talked about it on our first Stoppage Time Live, where the manager who is hired to replace Tata Martino has to fit into the Atlanta United culture. You can't just go get anybody. Not everybody, not every player, not every manager would be the right fit in Atlanta. So that's a big part of it. And this is something that I've had conversations about many, many times in different fields about how important the workplace culture is and how important it is to, cultivate it and maintain it and not disrupt it. And I think that's something that the Falcons, and I think it's something more importantly for us, Atlanta United, has really done well from day one. Everybody fits into what Atlanta United is supposed to be, and they help contribute to that and grow it and protect it. And that's a big, big, big part of being successful. And I think it's a big thing that Atlanta United has been able to do that maybe some other clubs in MLS have not.
Also on the board this morning, ATO UTD fan number 1, dealing with what we've been discussing in hour number 1. Honestly, what has Carlos Cordero done visibly since becoming the president of the USSF? To me, this whole thing has been a joke. From Cordero to Stewart, nothing is happening. It has been a huge turnoff, and it has U.S. soccer supporters waning. #Overreaction Monday.
The one thing he's done when he was hired, and the thing he had to do first, was get the World Cup bid locked down and get it done. And he did that. Not going to take that away. So I'm not going to say that Carlos Cordero hasn't done anything. He had to focus on that first, and he did. The problem is, and I mean, I've worked in jobs, I think all of us have worked in jobs where you can't put blinders on and only focus on one thing. I understand that the World Cup bid was priority 1, 2, and 3 for U.S. soccer because it secures the next gigantic growth opportunity for the game. And it will be that important. We will be looking back now at, man, why did they put so much emphasis on getting the World Cup? We will be looking back on that question in 8 years and say, oh, that's why. Because it will be that big of a deal. It has the potential to kickstart Major League Soccer, to kickstart, U.S. soccer and everything to a whole nother stratosphere after the 2026 event. It's that big. So I get that part of it. Totally on board with it. But could you not have taken a few hours away to get the general manager in place earlier? Could you have not taken some time even before that to get the search committee up to speed and working earlier? The election was last February. I think it was the day that Atlanta United played Nashville in preseason, if I remember correctly. So Carlos Cordero earned the job then. You didn't have a hire as a GM until August 1. That's when they took their role. I get the emphasis on the World Cup, but that just really seems short-sighted, that you couldn't function on the other side as well while you were securing the World Cup. It just doesn't make sense to me. So he has done something, and he's done something very big for the future of the game. I'll give him that. But the fact that now it is over 9 months since Carlos Cordero has been in office, and over a year since Bruce Arena stepped down, and there's still no manager, and it doesn't sound like there's one like tomorrow happening. What? Just what? I don't get it. I don't even know where to like find justification for that at this point, because you could get the World Cup bid done, but you could get your search committee done for the GM. You could have hired your GM sooner. You could have had them on the ground sooner. And even still, August 1, November 19, come on. What is the holdup at this point? I don't even know what to say anymore about it. So it's a good thing that Carlos Cordero got the World Cup. That is an amazing thing, because you will see the massive growth that happens in Major League Soccer. For those of you who are Atlanta United fans, you will see that massive growth in MLS that comes off of that World Cup here. You will see sponsors that never really were interested in soccer after going into a World Cup say, how can we keep doing this? This is amazing. Oh, there's this league here with teams all over the country. Wow. It will be that big of a deal. It will be massive. 8 years down the road. Can we do something in the short term, please?
Between now and then, something, lock it down.
Can we get a manager in place, please? Please.
Between now and 2024.
Well, yeah.
Anyone?
There's a Gold Cup next summer, so hopefully we'll have somebody.
Anyone?
Hopefully we won't have an interim manager for the Gold Cup in the summer of 2019. That's all I can say.
Katie Weaver says, it may be a good time to bring Jermaine Jones back into the USMNT fold. That guy's IG is lit up with feelings, all caps. He'd probably be ready to obliterate some unsuspecting CONCACAF midfielder right about now. Hashtag Overreaction Monday.
Oh, my. I will remember Jermaine Jones' career pretty much officially ending at Mercedes-Benz Stadium when he went with a on-the-ground scissors kick to the back of Tito Villalba because he didn't want to play anymore. Move. No, yes. Not even a bless your heart. No, there's no bless your heart move about it. No.
I wish he would have been ushered out with a bless your heart. That would have been perfect.
No. There's none of that because he knew exactly what he was doing. Jermaine Jones did not want to play in that match anymore. Like, this happens, folks. You see this happen sometimes. You don't see it happen with good teams or players who are in the prime of their career. And Jermaine had some issues at different points of his career being rather prickly. But that game was getting into a boat race. The LA Galaxy had watched Atlanta United just destroy some teams this season, or in that season in 2017. I believe the Revolution game was like a week before that or something. That's what this one was looking like. And Jermaine Jones gets a chance to earn his way out and not have to go chase Miguel Almiron anymore. Yeah, I'm going to kick somebody too. Bye. See ya. I'm out. That's what he did. There was no chicanery, not trying to get away with something, not trying to be
I'm done.
Sneaky. It's I want out of here.
Done.
That was it.
DUN done. Katie has another question. Do the guys get Thanksgiving off? Since it's not a primary holiday for a majority of our players and coaches, playoff game prep dietary restrictions with a question mark and a winking emoji with looks like corn and turkey emojis to follow.
Thursday, 10 a.m. training at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. That is on the official weekly schedule from the team that was released to the media, I believe, last night or this morning. So they might have a special team meal. I mean, it's an opportunity to do those sorts of things. But, yeah, they're training at 10 a.m. because big day Sunday. Big day.
Brian Wallace with a question. What do you think the odds are for the men's national team making Qatar if JM is actually the new manager? I am not a fan of the process this year at all! ! #overreaction Monday.
Who is the new manager?
This is JM. I don't know who JM
is.
Brian, who's JM?
It's going to be Greg Berhalter unless something is not right. So, don't know. It's not Jesse Marsh.
No, it could be. Well,
no, it's not. It's not going to be Jesse Marsh. Remember, he hasn't been interviewed either.
Yes, correct.
He's on that list of about 50 who have not been interviewed that probably could have been interviewed by most.
See, now this is the trivia question with the easy answer. What do you, me, Greg Vanny, Tata Martino,
nope,
and about 38 other people have in common?
No. That's not fair because I'm not getting interviewed for a U.S. soccer national team job. I don't have those qualifications. The question would be, what do Greg Vanny, Oscar Pareja, Tata Martino, Jesse Marsh, Peter Vermes, what do they have in common? The qualifications and not getting interviewed.
Yes.
I mean, you could put me in a list with all kinds of people about any kind of job that I'm not qualified for. That's not the deal here. The fact that there are so many people who are qualified and are not
haven't
interviewed,
even been allegedly sniffed.
It's
just ludicrous.
Hey,
absolutely ludicrous.
Well, Ernie Stewart said that he might have one interview. And he might have one interview. That might be it.
Unbelievable.
I don't know.
But no, Brian, let us know who JM is.
Yeah, probably.
We were thinking Jesse Marsh.
No, it's not going to be Jesse Marsh.
Let us know who JM is. But, yeah. So 90,000 people with qualifications still have not been interviewed for this particular position. Choice D, all the above.
No, let's control our outrage because you're not going to interview 90,000 people. And no, there are not 90,000 people with the qualifications to be the U.S. men's national team manager. Just because you're a coach, just because you have a good license doesn't mean you're truly qualified. Not every MLS manager is qualified to be the national team manager. They're just not. But there are a number of managers who are qualified to receive that interview and receive that interest who have not been interviewed. And that's the question here for U.S. soccer is to, what is the process? Because we finished the 2018 calendar year with one game to go. We've not had a national team manager in place the whole time. Dave Sarek in the interim has not been interviewed. I know his contract was extended through the end of the year. You have a January camp likely coming up. Don't know what that looks like. You have a Gold Cup coming up in the summer. Don't know what the preparation for that's going to look like. Don't know who has been interviewed, if anybody, at this point. It's just baffling because it is a very important thing, this Gold Cup coming up. You want to be ready for it. You need to win the thing. You need to get back on the right track. And we don't know who's going to be in charge of that at this point. So, I don't know. The last year of U.S. soccer has created more questions than there were at the end of 2017, and I didn't think that was possible. That's the problem, is that it's gotten worse and not better in the year since the biggest defeat in U.S. soccer modern history. And that's not how it should be. So we'll see if anything changes. I know that's where a lot of the overreactions and underreactions and on par reactions are right now. I'm right there with you. I don't know what to tell you at this point. It's baffling. as to why we haven't seen progress. So maybe one day, hopefully, maybe we'll have a manager for the January camp. Maybe we'll have a January camp. I don't know. Maybe it'll be like Paraguay has been lately, where they had to just have a camp of just training sessions. I don't know. Maybe it'll be that because we can't get a guy in place early enough to book matches. I have no idea. We'll see what happens. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more after this.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
Living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
Had to be independent and take initiative, and that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski and Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here, November 19th. Katie Weaver has completely stumped John Nelson during the break.
You can't be surprised by that.
Yeah, I am. I'm very surprised by this. This should be somewhat in your wheelhouse. I'm sure you knew who Jim Morrison was in Katie Weaver.
Yes, that I did.
Figure out who the JM was.
And J. Gerardo Martino. That one I knew too.
He didn't
and
know
Jose
who Johnny
Marino.
Marr was.
No. Nope. Nope. Did not know who Johnny Marr was.
Oh, man. Johnny Marr,
But,
legendary guitarist of the Smiths.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So, point taken. No, I don't know my Smiths. I know the Smiths. I just don't know my Smiths. But
Sorry,
yeah,
Katie,
Danny Graham
on behalf of Katie, on behalf of the show, I apologize.
But no, knew Jose Mourinho, and knew Jim Morrison, and J. Gerardo Martino. Knew him. Did not know Johnny Marr.
Ay, Dios mío.
The Colonel, Morning Colonel,
what's up, Colonel?
says that in his former profession, we said, quote, greatness is judged by how many balls you can juggle, end quote. Who knew Cordero's max was 3 all World Cup? Hashtag overreaction Monday.
I mean, Colonel's got a point. You know? I don't think the president of the U.S. Soccer Federation should be limited to one task at a time. I don't think that's a good setup for success. I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah, so I think that he's in a majority opinion.
Yeah.
But
yeah, there's that.
All right. So if you were the head of the U.S. Soccer Federation,
yes,
what would your timetable have been once the loss occurred that meant no World Cup appearance? What would your timetable have been?
No, that's not how it went down. And we need to be very clear about this because I've seen people confuse lots of different things that are not fair to the situation. Sunil Gulati was the president of the U.S. Soccer Federation when the loss to Trinidad happened. Sunil Gulati was weighing whether he would run again for U.S. Soccer president. There was a lot of flack and people wanting him to step down immediately. He chose to see out his term and not seek re-election, which I think was the right way to go. So Sunil Gulati was never going to make a change after the debacle in Trinidad and after Bruce Arena stepped down, because that would have been the wrong move to do as a lame duck president. Completely 100% on board with that. So then you have the election, which is contentious. You had lots of different candidates. You had lots of different things said. And Carlos Cordero wins it. So from early February, when the election was won, I believe it was February 10th, that's where your timeline has to start, not when they lost to Trinidad. That's not fair to the process, and it's just adding more confusion to it. So you get the job in February 10, and you are now the president of the U.S. Soccer Federation. You are in the midst of a World Cup bidding campaign where you have some maybe unexpected competition at that stage. There was talk about U.S., Canada, Mexico potentially not winning the bid. So you had to double down your efforts to get that. And that's where your focus should have been as the president of the federation. That's where your that's where your focus had to be. However, the president of the U.S. Soccer Federation should not be the one making coaching hires and fires, as Sunil Gulati did. So you should have put the group in place to hire the general manager day one, because that should have been part of your candidacy. It should have been part of your campaign to know what that was going to look like. So you get that group in place. You say, we want interviews for the general manager position in a month, in 2 months at the worst case. So that puts you, let's say, April. You make a hire in April for the general manager role. And you need to hire somebody who can start. You need to hire somebody who can start straight away, not hire somebody who has to finish up the current job they're at. I mean, if give a couple weeks, obviously. I mean, be respectful here, but you need to hire somebody who can take care of business because you are kind of in a bad situation. Okay. So everything would have been accelerated for me. And you have to take precedence on it. You have to take it that your job that you're offering, the coach of the national team, is the biggest job out there. And yeah, you might have to make some concessions. If the guy you want, say it's Greg Berhalter, he's in a job, you're not going to ask him to walk away in the middle of the season. Okay, that's fine. That's completely fine. You can still announce that he's been hired and he'll be joining the national team program as soon as his season is over. And you extend Dave Sarachan on out. Berhalter has input during the rest of the year, but he's not involved coaching day to day. In these international breaks where Columbus isn't playing, maybe he can drop into training. He can start to talk to the players. He can start to interact and build relationships, all these things that are very important for a national team manager to do. He could have already started doing. There's no reason why that didn't happen. There's no reason why, if Berhalter's the guy, they didn't announce it as soon as possible. There's no reason why the general manager couldn't have been hired sooner than it was. It's frustrating that we're still here and we don't know what's next. That's the problem here, because it could have happened so differently, just accelerated. Because the president is not running the coaching search. They shouldn't be. Sunil Gulati has in the past, and that's not how it should be. Because Sunil Gulati and Carlos Cordero are not technical directors. They're not soccer lifers from a professional perspective hiring coaches. They're administrators, and they've had success in being administrators. Focus on what you do right. Put smart people together who know the game to make the coaching hire, and let them go do their job. There's no reason why you couldn't have put that group together while you are finishing the World Cup bid. There's just no reason why that couldn't happen concurrently. That's the most frustrating part about it for me.
And that was why I wanted to give the floor to you, because it's frustrating for everybody. And I wanted to put a voice in a scenario out there to sit there. And it's like, okay, so if you were the one who could get things moving, how would you do it? And that was why I asked the question.
But that's maybe, the presidential election, maybe it was one of the more frustrating things about it was you had lots of consternation and things going on, but how much was actually talked about what you would do in this process when you were hired? Because you needed to hit the ground running. And you didn't. The World Cup bid you did, and that's great and huge. Not in any way diminishing that accomplishment. But there's no reason why this couldn't have happened alongside it. And that's the thing that is just, come on, y'all.
Once again, everybody, we got about a half hour. Let us know what your overreaction Mondays are, your on par reaction, your under par reactions, underreaction Monday, if there's such a thing. And let us know on the Twitters, at Soccer Down Here. And that's the beauty of this week. So this week we know that there's going to be a lot of reactions getting ready for everything. And we have our guests that are normal. We have to figure out Thursdays. And that's some other stuff that I want to get into probably on Wednesday's show a little bit, is get into the entire holiday vibe and ask some holiday questions on Wednesday. But I definitely want to get into the holiday stuff as we go and we get closer to that particular day.
And we will do that. We have lots of hours to get to before we get there. We're going to take a break right now, though, so we can get to that. And we'll be back with more on an Overreaction Monday after this. Stay with us.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. That's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here, November 19th edition. It's an Overreaction Monday. Send us your over and under and on par reactions on Twitter at Soccer Down Here. Some other stuff bubbling up in the MLS world. Philadelphia will be having a press conference later today with Ernst Tanner and possibly Jim Curtin, depending on the press release or the graphic and what you believe. He was mentioned as being there in the press release. He was not in the graphic that was created for it. Stay tuned. Their list of players that are under contract has come out as well, and it was 17 players. No real surprises there. Borek Dochkal is the biggest question mark for Philadelphia as to if he's going to be back or not in 2019. Under contract to a Chinese club. Sparta Prague, his former club, has expressed some interest in bringing him back. If it's any kind of a big-ticket item, I don't think Dochkal is back with Philadelphia in 2019. 17 assists in MLS is nothing to shake a stick at, and I think that's going to net him a bigger contract, a bigger offer elsewhere. What's that do for Philadelphia Union, though? Because I don't know if you have anybody who can step in. There's not many players in the league who are going to get 17 assists for you, period. But do you have somebody who can step in and get 10? You're going to be asking a lot of Anthony Fontana, your young playmaker who had limited opportunities in 2018. It's a big ask for him to fill those shoes in 2019. He might need a little bit of help to get there. Some other moves that are being rumored around the league: Columbus trying to lock down a permanent transfer for Milton Valenzuela, who was on loan from Newell's Old Boys in 2018. One of the best left backs in the league. I think Valenzuela was a great addition as a young designated player for the Crew, and they'd be foolish not to try to lock him down on a permanent deal. We'll see if they can make that happen going into 2019. LAFC reportedly has signed Edward Atuesta to a 3-year contract extension. Little surprising because it felt like Bob Bradley never truly trusted Atuesta. He was always behind Feilhaber, Lee Wynn, Mark Anthony Kay. Didn't really get a lot of time. Even after Kay was injured, I thought Atuesta was maybe the most likely to be the number 6 that they needed so desperately, and he never really got many opportunities there. But looks like he will be back on a 3-year deal with LAFC. Some rumors out of San Jose about Magnus Eriksson, one of their designated players, linked potentially to a return to Djurgårdens in Sweden. He's got 2 years left on his MLS deal. Designated player type of money. If a decent offer comes to play for the Quakes, wouldn't surprise me if Matias Almeida wants to start fresh and not include Eriksson as part of those plans. And then RSL, Sonny, who has played next to Kyle Beckerman for a good while now, 62 games as a holding midfielder during his time in Salt Lake City. Looks like he'll be leaving the club, and we had a potential move broken by LinkedIn last week with technical directors moving from Salt Lake City to DC United. Now we might have one broken by Marcelo Silva's Instagram page. He posted a picture, and basically it sounded a lot like a goodbye to Sonny, who would be leaving the club. So stay tuned there on that one. Some off-the-field stuff in Columbus. They are figuring out what their TV partnership is going to look like going forward. They've been on Spectrum Sports in the Columbus area, and local TV in Columbus has simulcast the games from Spectrum Sports. Well, Spectrum Sports is going away now, and Spectrum will be putting the games, according to their PR, on their new Spectrum News 1 channel. And Spectrum Ohio also has the rights to FC Cincinnati. So how that's going to look and how it would affect the local simulcasts, nobody knows yet. And the Crew said that they will announce their 2019 TV plans at a later date, and all questions should be directed to Spectrum at the moment. So sounds a little odd, and we'll have to see what happens in Columbus on that side of things. Some rumors out there for you, and one to keep an eye on if you are an Atlanta United fan. Low Limit Football, which is a great podcast. They are in episode 225. The guest on their episode 225 tonight at 6 o'clock is Daniel Campos. You might not know that name. Daniel Campos is the agent of Miguel Almiron. He's also the agent of Oscar Romero. And if you have been an Atlanta United fan from the early days of Peachtree Post and Dirty South Soccer and rumors and innuendos, you will remember Oscar Romero's name because that deal nearly happened for Atlanta United and didn't. Daniel Campos is the agent of both Almiron and Romero. So he will be talking to the Low Limit Football folks at 6 o'clock. You can listen to it at lowlimitfootball.com. Would not be surprised to hear some takes from Mr. Campos on Miguel Almiron's future. And he has been consistent in saying that future would be in the Premier League. Not exactly surprised, because right now, where is the money in the world of soccer? It's in England. That's where the TV money is. That's where you have more teams paying bigger dollars in salary and in transfer fee. So it makes total sense that that would be where you would want to be if you are an agent trying to send a player to a league. England would be the place you're going to start. It's where you're likely going to make the most money on a potential deal. No shock there. We'll see if it happens. But Campos on Low Limit Football tonight at 6 o'clock, lowlimitfootball.com to listen. Some other players who have been linked to MLS, one of them has been linked to Atlanta United. No real surprise, because every South American player seemingly is linked to Atlanta United. Started out with vague rumors of MLS interest and now has been linked to Atlanta and Chicago. Jefferson Sotoledo, Venezuelan forward who was a star at the last U20 World Cup. He is currently on loan at Universidad de Chile from Huachipato. $4 million ballpark cost is what we're talking about. 21 years old, 5'3". So think Luciano Acosta type of player. Sotoledo has been linked to Atlanta United and the Chicago Fire. I don't know if there's anything to the Atlanta link, to be perfectly honest. That is the go-to if there are vague rumors about an MLS club for a South American player. So none of the heavyweights have tied their name to that one from my mind. So take that one with a gigantic grain of salt. One that does sound a little more likely, although the price, it seems a little high, is Montreal Impact linked to Algerian midfielder Riyad Boudebouz. He is currently at Real Betis in La Liga. Most of his career has been in France, where he was a star. He struggled at Betis. 28 years old. He's a national team teammate of Safir Taider, who I thought was one of the best additions to Major League Soccer in 2018. Boudebouz, $10 million Euro bid, and the reports in Spain say that Montreal has put that offer on the table. 10 million euros is a big-time offer for the Montreal Impact. I wonder a little bit about the price tag, but the player seems like that type of the right fit for the Impact, and being a teammate of Taider at the national team level sure wouldn't hurt. Taider, I thought, was the guy who nearly carried the Impact into the postseason. You get Taider and Boudebouz together, that could be very, very interesting if you are a Montreal Impact fan. Some more off-the-field news out of Miami. Soccer X took place in Miami over the last week. Jorge Mas talked to reporters over the weekend. Ives Galarcep had some of this as well. Jorge Mas, one of the co-owners of Inter Miami, said that he's hoping to have their stadium completed during the summer of 2021. That would mean 2020, and the first part of 2021 would be in a temporary venue. Worst case, he hopes to have the stadium ready for the 2022 season start. He's also expecting to hire a coach by next summer or fall of 2019. Which is generally the timeline most have followed. Tata Martino was hired in September of 2016, ahead of the 2017 launch. Adrian Heath was hired even later than that in Minnesota. Bob Bradley, I think, was hired a little bit earlier than that in L.A. So stay tuned on Inter Miami manager search, and stay tuned on their temporary venue announcement as well. Moss mentioned both Marlins Park and Hard Rock Stadium as potential locations. Marlins Park makes more sense from a location perspective, not from a soccer perspective. Hard Rock Stadium is a great soccer venue, but it's further away. Is that going to be the best spot for this team to start? I think a lot of it depends on the players they sign. If you sign and this is complete pie-in-the-sky type of stuff, but if you sign a Lionel Messi, if you sign a Cristiano Ronaldo, then sure, you can play at Hard Rock Stadium and draw all the people to come out to see those guys play. If you don't, then maybe that's a little bit too far out there to have that attendance success that you're looking for as you launch the team. Stay tuned. We'll get into more Overreactions, underreactions, on par reactions. We'll talk a little bit about flamingos in Madison, Wisconsin. It's a thing. And any other responses from you guys on the Twitters in our final segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
Living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
Had to be independent and take initiative, and that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski and Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Final segment. Soccer Down Here. November 19th, Overreaction Monday. Jason Longshore, Jarrett Smith here to close it out. Brought Jarrett back in off the bench. What's up, Jarrett?
Super sub.
Super
That's what I
sub.
am at this point.
Here's one
That's
for
okay.
the super sub to give his take. Joe Boss talking about our U.S. soccer situation. Says any successful leader has to have the ability to do 2 things: communicate and delegate. WTF is the problem. Get a MGR. Get a manager.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to really anything they're doing right now. It's not just the men's side as well. I mean, it's also the women's side. You also have black hole positions there as well. So I don't know what they're doing every day. I don't know. Maybe they're playing Parcheesi.
I don't know. Who knows? I mean, at least on the women's side, you inherited a World Cup winning manager, so that helps. I don't know why hiring a GM on the women's side needed to wait until a GM was hired on the men's side. Couldn't that have been a concurrent thing? Like, I have this theory, Jarrett, and maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm just completely crazy for thinking this, that a huge organization like the U.S. Soccer Federation should be able to do multiple things at the same time.
I mean, you should. I'm not sure you're right now in the way they're at, but you should be right. That's the problem. Is it doesn't look like they are multitasking themselves well or delegating themselves well, as put in the overreaction. Just not delegating. Just you can get multiple things done at once, and just I mean the news that almost knocked me out of my chair was we haven't really had much in terms of talks with Berhalter about that. The talks haven't been going on, at least according to sources. That's not good unless you just pretty much had one talk that meant, yeah, we're going to do this. Problem solved.
The thing about Berhalter that we said it a while back when we talked about Berhalter and what his 2018 offseason could look like. Don't rule out the possibility that Greg Berhalter might say, you know what? I'm going to take this money from the LA Galaxy and go manage them. And that's what I want to do for the next 2, 3, 4 years. How crazy would it look for U.S. soccer if that happens?
Or if he decided, I'm going to go play coach Atlanta. That's also an option too.
Yeah, I think that's
not as
the
likely.
least likely one. Yeah,
but I just imagine Tata going to Mexico. Going to say, hey, you want this gig? Go ahead. Treat Joseph like you treated Zardes. Just let him rack 30 goals a year.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, it is possible, but it was something we talked about when the Galaxy made their move. You know, they kind of put themselves out there early in the process as, yes, we will have a prime position in hiring whoever we want. And Berhalter was on their list, as was Guillermo Barros Schelotto. I believe Caleb Porter as well, were the guys who have really been mentioned in terms of the LA Galaxy. Well, Schelotto's been mentioned other places. I think there's one we know about. Caleb Porter, I think, will have his pick of where he wants to end up. But Berhalter in L.A. was kind of thrown on the back burner because of the national team talk. And I think it's a tough decision for Berhalter to say no to the national team because you might not ever get that opportunity again. But I could absolutely see a scenario where Berhalter says, you know what, I probably have a better chance for success going to the Galaxy and doing what I do now, working day to day and working on a system. I don't know if my system would translate to the national team. I don't know if I'd be able to do that in short-term camps and limited training time. He might think he'd have more success with the Galaxy. And it's not like he's not going to be paid well. You know, it's not like the money won't be good.
I'm absolutely fascinated. And we saw the Forbes valuation is what it is from 2017. I'm really curious what the external perception is of the Galaxy, like outside, because we're in Atlanta. We're around Atlanta United all the time. So I'd love to know more about what the perception is of the Galaxy right now outside of this bubble, and, you know, national and international perception is, you know, how much is it viewed as, you know, a top flight position right now compared to maybe other ones that are opened up around the league, because you do have an older roster. You have a really young academy you have an academy. You have young players that have come through that just haven't gotten the chance. You've got names, though, that are exciting, but that's still, you know, an older, more expensive squad, especially on the defensive side of things.
It is, but I mean, I think there's two different things at play. I think the perception of who the LA Galaxy are is very different than the current reality. And the perception's the more important thing right now, to be honest, because you have the LA Galaxy who can spend money. You're going to have to make some tough roster decisions if you go in there. You're going to have to figure out a way to get out from under Giovanni Dos Santos' contract. You're going to have to figure out some form of a defense that actually functions in a professional sense, because you haven't had that in a while. You've got some things you got to figure out, but the LA Galaxy are valued as the number 2, you know, club in Major League Soccer because of all of the pieces that go into it. You have committed ownership. You have a beautiful stadium that is, you know, one of the best in the league. You have what should be a thriving academy, but seems to be disconnected for whatever reason. You have the USL team that's had success in the past and, again, has somehow become disconnected from everything. You get the right person in there, I think you can fix those things really easily. But the club is so highly valued, and I think the perception is so big because of what it can be rather than maybe what it is right now, November 19th, 2018. And that's the important thing here. And if you're a manager like Berhalter, that could be really appealing to go back to a club that you played at, that you finished your career at, and you started your coaching career at, and fix it.
I mean, maybe so. That would be interesting, because you imagine if he does that. And if we find out that, he took that gig and U.S. Soccer just didn't necessarily lock things down with him, but just assumed he would be there, and then he wasn't. Oh, boy.
And then let Oscar Pareja walk to Tijuana and let Tata Martino walk to Mexico and angered everybody else who you might have wanted to interview as a second choice. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the problem here. Because you took it for granted that Greg Berhalter would be your guy. If this is the case, and if he decides, could you see a scenario where, all right, I don't know if the rumors for Mexico were correct in terms of dollar figures, but it worked out to what, $2.2 million a year for Tata Martino? It was 8.8 over 4 years.
That seems to be what was reported.
Okay, let's say that's the going number for the U.S. Could you see the Galaxy paying more than that for Greg Berhalter if they really wanted him? Yep.
If they really wanted him, yes.
Yep. And if you're an MLS club,
I could see them paying more for guys who are not their first choice because they're the Galaxy and they can.
Mm-hmm. And if you're the LA Galaxy and you're looking at a guy like Greg Berhalter who's had success in the league, knows your club, he's the best fit out there for what you need to be, 100%. So you're going to pay for that. And if it turns into a situation where the LA Galaxy outbid U.S. Soccer for Greg Berhalter and U.S. Soccer didn't really consider anybody else in any meaningful way, then you got a big problem.
Well, I mean, you've still got guys you've still got guys who we considered and we talked about, whether it's a Greg Vanny, whether it's whether it is a Caleb Porter. I know that name's answered about. I don't know how well that would work. There's options out there. It just looks so sloppy is the bottom line for me.
Yeah. Our friend Jill Robbins asks if Mexico is becoming the vortex for the exodus of U.S.-based Latin soccer acumen. We've got to stop this talent drain now. The problem that U.S. Soccer runs into, if they took Berhalter for granted, he ends up not being the guy. You've angered people by not actually having a process. You've frustrated people by not having a process. Now you have to make up for that. And you're probably going to have to make up for that in terms of cash. That's bad management. So, I don't know. We will see. It's going to be very, very interesting how this all plays out. And I think we all kind of figured we were close to the end of it with Berhalter being announced any day now. But that report from Roger Gonzalez throws some cold water on it and makes you wonder. And with that LA Galaxy job looming out there, I think you have to wonder about it. You have to wonder if Berhalter is tempted by that one as well. Couple things before we wrap up today. Some lower division stuff that is quite interesting. So Madison, Wisconsin, USL League One now has their team name. They are Forward Madison, which was the off the beaten path suggestion for Madison. It's different. Forward Madison, it reminded me when I first heard it, if you know Atlanta history, there was an initial, I want to say this was in the 1910s or 1920s, when Atlanta was becoming a large city for business, and the Chamber of Commerce really started promoting Atlanta. And Forward Atlanta was that phrase that they used. It was all about moving Atlanta forward and making Atlanta bigger and more of a hub for business. It was brought back, I want to say maybe in the 70s or 80s, as another big plan for growing the city. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, you can play off of things like that and you can make something of it. Have you seen anything about this Jarrett, the League One team in Madison with the flamingo and the logo?
I've seen the logo, and I legitimately thought it was a Miami mock-up.
I did too. It was a little strange.
Yeah.
I get it, and there's the explainer to go with it, and yes, as
per usual, always
as per usual in the explainer. Let's hear the clip from, I believe, John sent this over. I don't have it in front of me who this is from. I believe it's a local TV in Madison. Let's hear the
WISC,
clip.
WISC TV.
There we go.
And
it's like
the Yes, it is. And the reporter is Amy Reed, and the sound you will hear is from Peter Wilt and one of the fans for Forward Madison.
Here you go, Forward Madison and their announcement of their team and crest and name and all of the things.
Soccer team Madison will be cheering. They're called Forward Madison. The pro club also revealed its logo today. Amy Reed joins us now to show us the excitement behind that announcement.
Yeah, it was very appropriate. This event was at the Historical Society today. With this new announcement, there are a lot of nods to history of both Madison and Wisconsin.
Forward, 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 forward. It's the chant that will fill Breeze Stevens for the inaugural year of Madison's first pro soccer team. The name for the team, Forward Madison FC, was announced today to a crowd of cheers.
It's so exciting. It's like Christmas Day, being able to unwrap a gift for others and let people get to see it, enjoy it, and the response has been fantastic. And now people in Madison have a team they can call their own, and they know what to call it.
The name was a community decision, suggested and then voted for online. Then there are those plastic pink flamingos, partly tradition for soccer, but mostly tradition for Madison.
And we thought that would be fun. You know, it's filled with a little bit of whimsy and irreverence, and sports shouldn't be too serious. So we think this is a fun way to incorporate the plastic pink flamingo with the soccer team.
This isn't the only big move for the team this weekend. They hosted open tryouts Saturday and Sunday as they look to put together a team for the 2019 season. Fans are already getting excited, taking today's opportunity to pick out merch.
This is something that many of us have been looking for many years, 20, 30 years, but we didn't necessarily have the support built up through the youth of the community. So seeing this means that the strength of our soccer community is quite strong.
The fans tell me they're excited to have something that belongs to them, which was a goal for the team right from the start.
But to have this team in Madison that they can embrace gives a sense of tribalism, a sense of community, and a sense of that team represents me.
Now, Keely, there's another day of tryouts. The last scheduled time for this round will be tomorrow from 10 a.m. to noon at Breeze Stevens Field.
All right. Thank you so much, Amy Reed, reporting for us. And the public has a chance to chime in.
And we're back. Forward Madison with their pink flamingo. Go check out MadisonProSoccer.com for more on that. There is an explainer. There is an article. It is not loading at the moment. I'm guessing there are lots of people asking about pink flamingos in Madison, Wisconsin.
It's like 40 years ago, apparently, pink flamingos just showed up on the major hill on the Wisconsin campus in Madison, and that's where that came from.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had to write a paper about the little plastic pink flamingos in an AP class in high school. I just don't remember anything about it. But as Jason, you want to share about the link? Let's just go ahead and run this all the way down.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I was trying to tell
Madison's
you guys
tribute
that story.
to Madison is This is the nihilism soccer team of the future.
Yeah, I was going to explain it because that was the question they had on their Twitter was, so why the pink flamingos, and a link to explain it, and the link doesn't work. Madison Pro Soccer, if you're listening, please fix your link because I would like to explain it because it's like I get it, and you want to look. I think sometimes we run the risk in the soccer world of trying to maybe try a little too hard with things, and when you see a pink flamingo for a team, you think Miami, not Madison. Yeah. So you have to have a good explainer, and you have to really embrace it, and you can sell it and make it work. You can spin it and make it a big deal, but not when the link doesn't work, guys. So we'll see how that goes over. But I was like you, Jared. I mean, I just saw the logo at a glance, and I was like, oh, okay, this is like a new alternate logo for Inter Miami. Okay. I don't know if that's the start you want. We have some breaking news that we will hit. Well, it's an air horn because it's not officially breaking yet.
Sprained.
Sam Stejkal says, sources tell me that the Philadelphia Union and Jim Curtin have agreed to a new deal. Curtin will continue on as head coach. Previously scheduled press conference with Curtin sporting director Ernst Tanner set to begin at noon. It was kind of confusing Kevin Kincaid of Philadelphia. Oh, he's bounced around a little bit. He has a great blog, great website in Philadelphia. He talked about how the graphic has Ernst Tanner with a press conference. Then the press release says Tanner and Curtin, and it's just not in sync. Is there something going on here? But Stejkal reports that Curtin will be back. They've agreed to a new deal, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I was a little worried he might not be back after the way they finished, but as I've said for most of the second half of the season, I think Jim Curtin was one of the best managers in Major League Soccer in 2018.
Gwen agrees.
Gwen completely agrees. She's a big fan of the youth at the Philadelphia Union.
For God's sakes, give him something to work with money-wise.
Yes.
Yeah. Go get him a playmaker and spend a little bit of money on it because he's going to need it. The other bit of news we wanted to touch on, that gets another air horn. Jeff Reuter tweets that NISA President Bob Watkins confirmed to The Athletic that the league will have a club in Atlanta for its inaugural 2019-2020 season.
Oh.
I'd heard this, hadn't seen anything official about it. NISA had went through their round of announcing markets, and they said they would announce more. Then that kind of fizzled out, and it was really weird because they were announcing markets without any detail about it, about ownership or what it would look like or any of it. So there should be a report coming later in The Athletic that Jeff Reuter teased, but the league will have a team in Atlanta. Don't know who's behind it. The only thing I can come up with is the group that was going to be based at Stonecrest. Don't know where that project stands at this point. I know there has been a few activities with Atlanta Sports City, the entire complex. I don't know if any building has actually taken place. Don't know anything about the stadium side of it. But unless it's the Atlanta Silverbacks, which I haven't heard anything along those lines that it would be them, don't know. Honestly, don't know what it could be or who it could be or where it could be. NISA applied for sanctioning under the professional league standards to be officially recognized as a Division III professional league. That would put them on the same level in terms of recognition as USL League One. The difference is NISA would have a season that would run fall to spring. So they would start in the fall of 2019, not in the spring of 2019. Don't know how it would work. Don't know. There's lots of questions. But expect more from Bob Watkins and NISA about a proposed team in Atlanta if they are certified by U.S. Soccer going forward. I think that's about it, guys. I think that's a show. Any final overreactions from you, John?
No, but if there were, it would be me banging my head continually on the desk in the office over the lack of a new head coach for the U.S. men's national team. But that's just me, and maybe several thousand other people.
I was banging my head against the microphone when John didn't know who Johnny Marr was, so we're even.
Point taken.
Jarrett, any overreactions from you as we wrap up?
Nothing that hadn't been said. Go read the Players Tribune article if you haven't.
Yes.
Go just ride out with U.S. Soccer at this point. You're already on the boat. If you jump off, you're not going to swim back to shore at this point. So just maybe you get rescued. I don't know.
Oh, watch for the absolute chaos if Greg Berhalter takes the job in Los Angeles instead of the national team and everything falls apart. We'll see. Stay tuned. We'll have more.
If that happens, I hope to God that Jurgen Klinsmann texts or tweets at U.S. Soccer. Like, hey, you guys up?
Oh, no. That's going to happen. All right. We have 22 hours to recover from that monstrosity. 9 o'clock tomorrow, Tuesday Thoughts edition of the show. A lot of thoughts will be thrown towards Atlanta and the Red Bulls and Portland and Kansas City as we get into the conference finals and we get closer to those kicking off next Sunday. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha ostrich running, y'all.
Mucha playoffs, y'all.